in like you and I did. You know, remembering all of that, I'm like, yeah, you don't go do that. If you don't have an invitation months in advance, don't go knocking on those doors. They just don't go, oh, we found our star. No, that's not how that works. But what I learned was quite interesting is everyone talked about the budget cuts. Every TV industry, the executives of BBC and all of the others all talked about the cuts. I didn't even see PBS there. Um, I didn't see some of the other stations. I didn't really see there. Maybe they're not worried about anything because they're going to be Trump supported. I don't know. But the budget cuts were a big concern because that means no content. And yeah, the people who are making content right now look like they're making money, but if you're not buying content, then that industry is going under too. There were a lot of people there looking to sell their content or find distribution, which I think is the key right now. And the problem is the overhead, right? The big networks have a lot of overhead that they have to deal with just to broadcast in the country. We have a minimal amount of overhead. You and I have a very long runway, and that is not one of our concerns. One of our concerns is getting more content and adding more channels, which, they were all impressed with the fact that, we have 4 channels on Amazon and Roku. They couldn't even understand how we managed to do that. That we broadcast 24/7 on all channels, both post production and live, that we intermittently run them. Nobody really can do that without millions and millions and millions of dollars at a major network. Binge TV was there. I bumped into the founder of Binge TV, Bonnie.
No, Bonnie, right.
And yeah, again, the problem that you're seeing with a lot of these places is their cost of overhead and inability now to truly buy into content. You have to have heavy advertising, which has gone downhill. If you listen to Evan, who was the best presentation at the conference,
YouTube guy.
he gave the numbers. He was better than Nelson. He gave the numbers for everything. He talked about fast being the way. Most people are going back to the old fashioned TV, a couple of channels, simple mindset, just pick some good content for me and let me watch it. Because surfing through the networks now, you have to be a subscriber somewhere and you have to pay to subscribe to Amazon or Roku or both or Apple. And then you have to pay for a subcategory of that. And then you have to pay for the show. Even if you decide you'll agree to advertisement, you might not get the shows you want. So it's become too complicated. People work too hard. They don't want to spend all that money. By the time you add up what you pay for each of the subscriptions, you're probably paying $100 a month, including your cable costs. So it's just not worth it. You're not getting your value for the content. People are saying, hey, it's better just to go back to antenna TV and just watch what I want on YouTube. So fast is also becoming the new wave and rave. And, so I would say if you're going to be in media, go learn more about that. I would definitely attend another Evan conference, not so much the NAPTI conference, but if Evan does something, I will definitely go watch him again because I learned more from him than I did anyone. The other thing that was interesting to me is usually when you go to NAPTI, you see a lot of new and up and coming TV shows. I did not see that many new and up and coming TV shows. I did, however, see a lot of movies.
There were some up and coming TV shows, like I said.
Some, but not. It wasn't the emphasis like TV should be. So there was some.
Yeah, I would agree with that. But as you know, we met that young lady from Guatemala that's a travel person and everything, and she's got some product and talking about coming here. And I was just telling Nick that we met the folks with the Comic Invasion, and I've actually been.
The Comic Invasion, that was the coolest idea.
What's the Comic Invasion?
So they go out to each town, as comedians who travel from town to town. You know how comedians are, right? So they get booked all over the country and they go into these towns. Well, these guys are going in and they're filming the history of the town, National Geographic twist on it. And they do interviews of people in the town, a little travel blogging, and then they film their comedy show with it. And so now you have a travel blog slash historical National Geographic twist to a
Mhm.
comedy show. It's very unique. I think it's very fun. I do hope that they find distribution for it. If not, they'll come to us.
So
Hey,
really,
and by the way, hold
that
on a
would be
second, Nick. Nick, I
a
just got an email. I got an email, breaking news and everything, because one of the people that I did not meet in person, but I did meet them through the directory and everything, is a young lady, Aradaki Recchio. She is the Cultural Industry Trade Commission of the Embassy of Spain in Miami. So this is the email that I just got from her literally 10 minutes, 20 minutes ago. She said, thanks for your email and the invitation to join the Pod TV show. I think it would be an exciting opportunity to talk about the work we are doing at the Spanish commercial office in Miami and learn more about what you are doing as well. What did you have in mind for the show? Next Monday, I won't be available, but I would be happy to join any other. Let me know which date works best,
There
and
you
I'll
go.
confirm. Look forward to hearing from you and getting more details. Best Aradaki Recchio. So she is from Spain and has Spain ties to the Trade Commission of the Embassy of Spain in Miami. Because I did mention that we are a network that has offices in Raleigh, Durham, and Spain, as in terms of
yeah,
our two founders and everything. So we just plugged into your country of Spain with this young
very,
lady
very
through
good.
Natalie.
Yeah, we'll bring her on the media show, Mark, and see if we can get her on and listen to what's
Yeah,
going on in
we
Spain
lined
from
up, I think,
Miami.
a lot of like what I call quality um, contacts, people that would have a real interest in coming to Pod TV as opposed to
Right,
people who were, specifically aiming for the major networks. What I'd introduce this as is, you have the major leagues and the minor leagues. And, so, sometimes you got to step into the minor leagues a little bit, which
sure,
is where we are. Doesn't mean that we
right,
can't make major. Um, but by explaining it that way, it made more sense to some of the people, and they saw us
right.
as that stepping stone of distribution from here to there. So, yeah,
I do have to. I'm gonna tease myself and everything. I see we have got Sharif here as well, but I
I
do.
see.
I must tease myself and everything because I'm convinced now, and maybe Kim can tell me that I'm wrong and everything. But I think Kim thinks that I have a new lady friend from the area as well because she was teasing me that every time she turned around, this young lady that was a science fiction writer was following me and all along those lines. So I think she's convinced that I have a new friend and all along those lines, even though it's just a friendship. But I think that Kim might think it's more. But I'm just gonna tease myself and everything.
No, no. I mean, it was nice because you did make a lot of good contacts, and a lot of people connected with you very well. At the mixer, Mark was followed by many. So yeah, so Mark was a mover and shaker and made a lot of contacts. One of the things that impressed me the most, I mean, maybe it might encourage Sasha, was the amount of people from Canada.
Yes.
I kid you not, Nick. I Everyone I met was from Canada.
Yeah.
It seemed like
There
for
was a
the
lot of
first. I mean,
Canadians.
it was overwhelming with Canadians, and you would think, well, maybe they just came down for the warm weather, but the Canadians are really their industry is growing. They are migrating big, and the content makers are getting bigger, and the network, and there's grant money in the government is offering grant money for good content
Yeah.
in Canada.
Kim, just really quickly, what was your take on? Because I know we talked to them, and you even had a better conversation than I did. But and I thought I had that piece of paper from them and everything. But tell us about the car guys, because I thought that was a great idea that they had, and you were even more engaged with them in conversation than I was. So share a little bit about the car guys and their particular show that they were trying to pitch and everything along those lines. Because
Well,
you
I
had
think
first.
they just had a show that started out with a true story, right? A guy wanting to fix up used cars, and then the more they started talking to him, and then one of the guys, I mean, they realized that there was content there to be had, just like the FX shows that were really popular. Car shows have a tendency to get a lot of viewers because there is a group, a bubble of people who like to do with cars, and they actually, I think, already have two sponsors. The problem is the major networks have told them that they needed 11 to 13 pre-made shows for the first season, and Nick and I know that story. So they don't have that. They don't have the money or the funds to do that because they film the old fashioned way. And, they know that, a 30-minute show is going to cost them at least 30 grand. And that's what they're looking for is 30 grand per show at 11 shows. That's a lot of money. And nobody today has a lot of money to put into 11 shows that is more of a teaser first season, and you're not sure that it's going to make it. So the secret now is to have your advertiser ready to go in the pocket before you do it. So make a good sizzle reel, go get your advertising, and then do it.
Yep. And
But
the other topic that they talked
to
about.
spend that kind of money making a car show, I think that the creators can do a little bit better job.
Yeah, I agree with you. And the other topic that was talked about quite a bit, and we were sat in on a couple of presentations, was one of both Sharice and Jacoby's favorite topics, because there were a number of people that talked about the importance of AI and augmented reality to the industry and all along those lines. Even Ethan, who you were talking about, that did that presentation on YouTube, and the Amazon and Roku people both brought up the notion of AI, and they did a whole presentation on AI where they had people talking about the nature of the industry, how AI is influencing what's going on in the media, and particularly this type of media, and all along those lines. And then the gentleman actually made an AI presentation at the end that was a 2.5 minute AI presentation based on what the people had said, that also featured some traditional commercial on AI during the Super Bowl as well and everything. So I just wanted your thoughts on AI as a leader in the field of media, because definitely AI and augmented reality was a major topic of conversation.
Well, Scarlett got into that because AI is her field of expertise, and she was there, and she is also a big supporter of Web3
Mm-hmm.
art, and she runs the art gallery for the original Art Basel. Nick, what Art Basel is and how big it is. But the original hotel where Art Basel started and began there on Miami South Beach, she actually curates or manages the gallery there, getting in new art. But she focuses on the AI and Web3 art, which is very interesting, and how they're monetizing on that kind of artwork as well, because they're learning that you can, potentially give it real equitable value, even though it's AI, and yeah, so it's pretty cool. I
Very
learned
cool.
a lot.
Yeah.
Right.
Thank you.
Well, we should hear from Sharif and see what's going
Yeah,
on in
and I
Asia.
got to run.
Okay, you got to run. Yeah, because
I
we
got
got
to go
time
take
here.
care of the victim's
Yeah,
advocate.
yeah, the timeshares advocate
Yeah,
coming up. But
we'll take
let's
care of
hear what's going on in Asia. I've got a bunch of distribution points from Bangladesh now on a Facebook
Okay.
group, like
Okay.
400,000 people, but we need content from Bangladesh. We got to
Yeah.
advertise Bangladesh. So what's going on?
Yeah. Okay. I have some different point of view. Let's say I think you were first time you invite me in Port TV. I think a few years ago, and you said that I have to produce the show. So that time I started this show for talent economy. This is my first time. I was TV debaters, but I never run any show. You are the first time you actually inspire me to do this show. And basically I'm from academy and this field. So I try to understand from your different shows that how it can be beneficiary for Bangladesh or for emerging economy. That time I was in Malaysia, or how I can improve our economical, political, and social situations with my show. So that's why I said, because country like Bangladesh, Malaysia, India, we have a lot of young people underutilized. It's not like most of the talented people from Bangladesh or from India or from Malaysia, they go to Silicon Valleys or USA, and they get their new career. So that's why I think that how I can help my young people. If you see Bangladesh has more than 90 million people, those who are youth. So I try to engage with my communities and then find that your opportunities is an excellent opportunity for my growth, for my community's growth. I invite all of the talented people from global north, where you stay, where you work, and I'm engaging these contents, and I'm trying to helping my communities with my contents, and I'm getting a brilliant result from this process. I never go for any kind of commercializations. I go my show 100% free. Even any single seconds, I never go for commercialization. I say that it's like open source mode. Anybody can use it. And you will be astonished if you visit Bangladesh, or if you visit my place in Dubai or in Malaysia or in India, let's say IIT, or Australia, even some point your USA, you find that people getting lot of benefit through this kind of dialogue, lot of interesting collaborations happening, lot of interesting thought provokings and changings and many things happening. And I find that human are more productive. Definitely AI technology, because we are doing our show with the technology. This is very important. But human capitals, technology, if they work together, it's boom. Every single day, trust me. I never ask for money. I never ask for any help, any sponsor, any support. But hundreds of million people engaging with my World Talent Economic Forum. Someone come, they say, hey, I have a very big research lab in Chittagong, use it. Some university come, he say, hey, I just get a call from Joshua Technology University. They say, hey, I have a very big labs and research center and 20,000 students engage with me. Another, let's say, government agency come, they said, hey, I'm university grant commissions, I'm running whole university, so what we can do with talent economy. They say Indian Prime Minister office come, they say, hey, what we can do. Khalifa Rashid bin Maktoum Foundation come, they say, hey, what we can do in Dubai. Australia come, they say, hey, what we can do in Western Australia. Then my research, we publish a lot of paper, right? Our innovations, we innovate AI, we call it wisdom app. We invent technology like this Nikola Tesla technologies, all of the brilliant things happenings, and we are improving our society. We are improving the human lives. We are improving governments. You are improving uh, corporations and academia. That's why for the long time, I'm actually sharing my content 100% free. But if people can understand, this is valuable. If people can understand, it can add value for the society. People engage with this ecosystem and they share their resources. So I want to give special thanks to Nick Palveda, because you are the man who actually just kicked me in the oceans, and I'm just swimming here and many ups and downs. But finally, I'm very happy because talent economy is like a major innovations for emerging economy, and we need more collaborations from global north. You have technology, you have knowledge, you have lot of resources. So if global north and global south can work together, you can solve maybe many problems, maybe water purification problem, maybe educational problem, maybe industrial problems, many things we can do. So human are most positive things in the world. I think your friend Mr. Homestoner visit Bangladesh. He see that how he involved with all of the people, like the Prime Minister office, like the Dhaka University, like the largest corporations. So it's like a magic. So that is the beauty of Pot TV. What I learn, I
Mhm.
learn how to make things happen, and I listen a lot, right? I have to listen a lot. I produce more than 1400 episodes, so I have to listen a lot. So, and I also learn, I also improve, and my students, my community also learning and improving. So I need more collaboration and more support. Thank you, Mr. Nick, and thank you, Pot TV.
No problem and
Yeah,
everything.
and
Hey,
we need more reporting from Bangladesh and that part of the world, Dr. Sharif, because in the United States and even in Europe, we get very little information what goes on in Bangladesh, India, China, that whole area of the world. Yet it contains more than 50, maybe 80% of the population. It's just the way the media works.
no,
That
but Nick, that's one of the conversations that came up in the conference and
yeah,
everything was they talked about the I won't say the death, but the fading of traditional media, and I really am curious to hear what Jacoby's thoughts about this is, because they talked about the fading of traditional media, meaning not just Fox, but also CBS, ABC, because they got brought up, and I think I brought this before we brought the rest of the panelists here and everything, this notion that many of our young people, I'd say between the ages of 18 and 35, maybe 18 to 40, and definitely the teenagers, are getting their news more from social media, be that Facebook, be that Twitter, be that some of these independent networks, including some of these YouTube channels, and all along those lines. And some of that can be misinformation or disinformation as well. But that was something that was a running theme, as well as, ironically, DEI, because a lot of people were trying to find DEI content as well, and everything like that in the conference that was down there in Miami. But I was just wondering your take on that, because as Kim said when she was here earlier, that was something that was very big, with this notion that young people really don't care about the Walter Cronkite and the local news. And part of that is their frustration with what they see, and also wanting to create more content of themselves that appeals to them, and all along those lines. And the other thing that people talked about is the notion of having stuff in library so that you can actually see it, and not just at the time that it's running and everything. So that's a conversation that's even existed here on Pod TV. But I just wanted your take, Jacoby, is one that's in the youth space, as to where you're seeing, because you're in the youth space and seeing what kids are listening to and everything, not just because of being in the market and having your own esports leagues and things that you're working on, but you also create content in that kind of world, and you also do some stuff in that space, and you have yourself. Sorry, you got the idea. I was trying to hear it.
Rick, I wasn't gonna say nothing.
Sorry.
That was my fault.
That's all right. That's all right.
Because yeah, Mark, you got in your zone. Yeah, I mean, I don't know why we're shocked. I think it's because, as I've stated multiple times, we keep arguing, we keep discussing things from a perspective that isn't the perspective of today.
Exactly.
We're having the old arguments. Of course, I mean, heck, Bandersnatch. Rick, you remember when Bandersnatch came out on Netflix, and that was the new cool thing? But that's a canary in the coal mine. That was a whole choose your own adventure on Netflix.
Yeah, I kind of remember. And Black Mirror did a similar thing.
That's all it is that we never listen to the changing of the times. And that change has been coming for a while. Kids with video games. You had choose your own adventure books. We had a song, Video Killed the Radio Star.
Good.
I mean, that we're just in that evolution of times, and we're not keeping up with that evolution. And yeah, kids are going that way. That's going to be the way of the future.
So just a few years ago, 79% of Americans watched traditional TV.
Exactly.
In the latest survey, it's down to 59%.
It's less than that, what they said.
Also, like Jimmy Kimmel says, what does he say? He says, I don't know if there will be any late night television shows on network TV in 10 years. A guy whose job it has been to make that kind of TV says it's going away.
Well, they come up with a phrase.
For example, if you look at YouTube, YouTube has more has more people watching YouTube than watching TV. There are more YouTube celebrities than there are TV celebrities.
Right.
If you go and you want to find out about your tech or something about a car, you know what? You're not going to sit there and wait on TV to tell you about this new Ford that may be coming out, or this new Chrysler is doing an update on the Pacifica right now. They're changing the whole. Well, you know what? You can go to YouTube right now and check out cars. Check out cars.com. Go look at Marquez Brownlee. Find out all the information that you want to about whatever car you want to, whatever tech that's coming out. You find your YouTubers. That's what people.
But there is frustration with streaming, finding what you want, and paying for a million services.
And I was gonna say to tell you one of the things that came up is, and I think you know the gentleman. If you don't know him, you know people that know him and everything. But apparently, one of the biggest streamers out there just signed a contract with a major network, that being Mr. Beast, because that was one of the things that they revealed was he just signed a big deal. I think it was last week with it might have been HBO, but it was one of the major. No, it's Netflix. He just signed it with Netflix. So Mr. Beast is now a Netflix partner, if I remember it correctly. But I know
He's got a show on Amazon. And the thing is,
that's what it was. It was Amazon.
So the thing is that again, and this is, I mean, I hate to talk about the politic thing in a roundabout way, but when people have this idea that billionaires don't want to get more money, I just don't understand that. Mr. Beast, yeah, that dude has tons of money. Well, you know what he just did was sign that he has a show on Amazon and signing more deals because you know what? He got bills to pay too, and he wants more money.
So but it was actually it was Amazon, because the young lady from Amazon was at the conference. It was Kelly that brought up that notion that he just signed with them. They also mentioned, and you have kids. I don't have any kids. I've got nephews that are now teenagers, so I don't know that they would be watching this. But apparently there is a show that is very popular out of the BBC because they were teasing it, and I've never heard of this show. So somebody please tell me what the heck is Bluey, because they kept mentioning Bluey, and I'm still trying to figure out.
It's been around for a long time. Bluey's just a cartoon. Bluey is basically about it's just basically about a family, and they follow around the daughter. The daughter is Bluey, and it's you got the mother, the father, and the daughter. Well, the son and the daughter, and it's actually a really cute cartoon. It's on Disney Plus.
And they mentioned that and everything. Rick, one of the terms, I think it might have been the gentleman Chris Arbago, who I think is with Hulu, mentioned and everything, because he's got teenage kids himself. He said that his kids have come up with a new term, partially what we're talking about with some of the bad stuff on TV and everything, because his kids wanted to know whether he would stop getting brain rot and everything like that. So apparently that is a new term where you're watching too much junk and it's kind of like rotting your brain versus enlightening your brain. So I was just wondering, as one that's been in that space, if you've ever faced that notion of brain rot.
Well, I've got it myself. I used to read 5 books a week. Now I'm lucky to read a book a month. My attention span is shot to hell. And if you look at in the social media space, like politics has rotted 40 million Americans' brains, where I think you order your life using the familiar spaces around you and objects you're familiar with and people you're familiar with. And then if you start getting flooded with bullshit, it disorients you. And some people lose the ability to tell fact from crap.
And by the way, just for those wondering the definition, because the AI definition is brain rot is an informal term that describes the state of mental fatigue or decline. It's often used to describe the effects of consuming low amounts of low quality online content, especially on social media. So it describes internet content also deemed to be low quality or value. Or
well, we evolved out on the savannah. We were a bunch of people just running around, and we knew which berries were safe to eat and how to sneak up on a woolly mammoth to take it down. And then, people lived for 30 years, and also they slept 10 hours a day, and they hunted for 2 hours. They didn't have a lot of stimulation. Now it's everything all the time. And we still have these old fashioned brains that get overwhelmed.
Yep.
Well, apparently, Rick, because I brought up this comment earlier, apparently, and I know we've got others like Shaquille when he's here and others, but apparently we have a commenter that thinks that maybe we need to have a whole show around beard growth, and I actually got this shaved before I went to the conference and everything, because Polar Knight, who is one of our regular listeners, says, as a barber, I just have to say that this show is the best on Twitch. It has every stage of beard growth, so we can even have a show based on whether my beard or yours or mustaches are light.
You have a full beard. I've got a 3/4. It's okay. It's not. It's not. Your beard is manlier than my beard. It comes in fuller.
So apparently that's what Polar Knight was saying, that there could be a whole beard show and all along those lines and everything like that. But definitely, what do you think that networks like this and in general can do to appeal to the young people. Because like I said, that's one of the things that came up in the conference was that it is very much of a youth-oriented market. And I don't know that the young people, I'd be lying if I said that my teenage nephews watch this show on a regular basis, probably because they don't hear like their uncle rambling and everything like that. But what do you think that this network or any other network like this could do to cater toward young people if you were in charge, if you were the Nick or the Kim of the world?
Rick, you want to take that one?
Well, I always go
got
to
ideas.
I always go to boobs and butts. You can't like TikTok is full of my statistic is we have as many OnlyFans models in America as we have doctors, and more OnlyFans models than we have cops. And so there will always be a market for, people, showing themselves.
I want to hear Jacoby's ideas because I'm sure they're going to be wonderful. But speaking of that and tits and boobs and everything like that, one of the commercials that was at the Super Bowl and all along those lines was one that was ironically for breast cancer, but it displayed a whole lot of breast in the commercial and everything like that. So I don't know if you saw that commercial or what your thought of that commercial, but it was actually ironically for breast cancer, but it was definitely
There was a theme of a lot of commercials, which is they would just throw up a million real people in little clips and shots and overwhelm the screen. Taco Bell did one of them. And so I don't know that, you got to be lucky and clever to be Mr. Beast. But the whole deal is that what kids, I don't know, I'm not a fucking kid, but like what they want is a profusion of stuff and just a flood of it. Right?
Well,
what's your take, Jacoby?
So, so my favorite thing about the Super Bowl, or that I like to do, because everybody. I enjoy the game and everything. This halftime show I thought was one of the greatest because of what it was. That was one of the greatest things ever. However, my favorite thing is yes, I do review every single commercial, like the brand new ones that happen at the Super Bowl. So if, being followed on Twitter, Facebook, or Instagram, Twitter, Facebook, or because I don't post it on Instagram, it takes too long. But just your normal Blue Sky and stuff like that, I'll post, every single commercial, I'll rate it. A, B, C, D, E, F. The Netflix, the which one was it? The worst one of the worst commercials. And since we're in the AI space, one of the worst commercials is the Jesus.com commercial because it does use AI images to try and push through its stuff. So yeah, I'll go through. I hated the T-Mobile and Starlink one because of Elon and Starlink. Hated that. That's trash. You don't need no money. So what kids want is for us to speak in their language more, and we tend to overlook that a lot. And like Mr. Beast took off because he was speaking in their language, also just having fun doing it. And kids want that emotion and they want that connection as much as we do. But the problem is that, again, we're looking at the kids and talking to the kids as you young whippersnappers. You all like going back to the halftime show. The halftime show spoke to kids more so than we do. And the halftime show, kids picked up on what they were saying more than the adults did. The adults went, oh, well, I can't understand him. But no, he's speaking more artistry and more. And so I hate to do the evolution of rap. Rap was basically that single, that look at that poem and speaking directly about what's going on in society, but it was doing a more literal thing that evolved into entendres, then double entendres, then triple and quadruple entendres. If you look at the rap today and the culture today, that's what it does. And that's what Kendrick Lamar was doing. And that's what kids are looking for. They want this energy. They want to be talked to. Yeah, what Rick was saying, inundated with all this stuff.
There has to be a lot of stuff going on.
It's not just and it's not just like a lot of stuff. It has to have a point. And right. That's what we miss, is that there has to be a point in all this stuff going on. And there is, a lot of stuff happening, and these explosions and hearts and all this other stuff and the funny talks and the funny sayings. But it has to have a point to it For example, Hop Tour went off because, oh, it was funny. It was a double entendre about what's going on and what she's talking about and all the other things that were going on in your mind. But we took that as, oh, well, she's just saying some sexual stuff. And we forgot about the fun that was there and the reason it was there. And so people got lost in, oh, well, we're going to try and overly explain it. We're going to try and, break it down this way, rather than trying to understand and speak in that same language and that same joke that was there. Mr. Beast, Ninja, Marquez Brown Lee, he does phenomenal tech reviews and car reviews, but kids are watching him. Why? Because he's still jokey and has fun with it and talks about it's not, this cell phone has this, and this. No, let's talk about the fun stuff and what you're going to do with it. So he's speaking on different levels. So
but also every new art form throws more information at you than the rap took off. One reason is because it's more information per second than any other kind of music. It's bam, da bam, da bam, da bam, da bam. Like the Beyonce Bowl, which was earlier this year, it referenced hundreds of years of history, just smashed it in there. Exactly. It was all with the theme. And this halftime show, a ton of it had consistent themes, but it hit you with a ton of stuff.
I mean, for example, did you notice in this halftime show, which a lot of kids even noticed, there was not one white person? Not one. But what does that speak to? That speaks to a lot more in terms of what kids are seeing today, because as much as we want to try and talk about this colorblind society and blah, 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 colorblindness is another variation of racism. We should be able to help and champion and cheer on each other's cultures, differences, and everything else. But we always historically have used color and ethnicity as a way to tear each other down. Kids these days don't want to do that. They're tired of that. Hence the reason why a lot of these kids these days try and, well, I don't want to deal with the history of that. I don't want to hear that, because we've always utilized it as something to tear down rather than to champion and say, oh, it's cool to hear. It's cool to see. So again, getting back to what we were talking about, things and ways to attract other kids, we got to speak in their language, and we're not doing that. Even politically,
we're not doing that at all in a bad way. Hold on a second, Nick, because I know we're winding down. But FAST, which Kim mentioned and everything, is the growing importance of proper windowing, which is actually what we've been talking about, even what Toby talking about, which is putting it in the proper context, as well as the content curation, which I sometimes think we don't do a good job of in terms of boosting discoverability. So we've got to figure out a way to actually do better content curation so that people know where to find this kind of material, because they were talking about fast channel operators need to do a better job of marketing and sharing data to show advertisers how many viewers they reach, because that is the new player in town, and how loyal these viewers are as viewer growth in fast continues to outpace monetization. So the monetization is coming later and everything.
So a super cool thing, check this out, Nick, and this would be good research for you. One of the cool things that honestly, in terms of everything being roughly about the same, like even on this show, we talk a little bit about politics and so and so. One of the cool things that you can do, check out the group New Rock Stars. It's one of the group. It's a cool group on YouTube. New Rock Stars, what do? They break down every trailer. What are we supposed to be doing on the media? Talking about stuff that's going on in the media. It would be cool. Hey, let's look at what is happening in the media. Why did if we were to look at and break down the Kendrick Lamar halftime show, if we were supposed to do that this whole episode, that would get you more views than talking about anything that Trump is doing and stuff like that. It's just like I said, New Rock Stars.
We also need to bring on younger people, but we also have to end this show, but we'll have to bring on more younger people. And we'll see you next week on the Media Show. Bye-bye.